we're delighted to be joined by political commentator Chloe Dobbs and former Labour advisor Matthew Laza.
Good morning.
Morning to you both. How are you?
We're good.
Yeah.
We're good. Good to see you back safe and sound, Charlie.
Thanks a million. Yeah, bit of a curious trip to Israel and Gaza this week, but only so much we're allowed to look at.
Indeed.
Embedded with the IDF, they still won't let journalists go in independently, but still a very interesting experience to go and see what it was like. But plenty going on back home to come back
Absolutely.
to, especially with this ongoing dramas with Andy Burnham. Chloe, will he be allowed to stand, do you think, or is there going to be that London stitch-up from the NEC?
Well, I mean, it would be interesting to see from his own perspective whether he decides this is worth the gamble. I think that the NEC would shortlist him if he decides that he wants to stand for the seat. But it's a huge gamble because he would have to, of course, give up being the mayor in Manchester. And I think it's not going to look very good for his reputation if he were to step down for his own reasons and then that seat go to Reform, potentially, that mayoralty in Manchester. So it's a huge gamble. And
well, you think the mayoralty could go to Reform?
I mean, it could potentially. I mean, the polls are so fluid these days. But also, I mean, this seat that he's potentially going to stand in, you might look at that and say, oh, that's a really safe Labour seat. But remember what happened in Runcorn last year. I mean, sure, that was Labour stepping down for a more controversial reason, of course, because that big bust-up in the street. But it could potentially happen here. He could end up the mayoralty going to another party and the seat going to another party, him ending up with nothing. So it's quite a gamble.
Exactly, and I think being mayor of Manchester is probably quite a nice job. He's incredibly popular up there, the only senior Labour figure with better than negative poll ratings. Pretty extraordinary. Do you think, Matthew, that he is, A, likely to go for it, and B, will Keir Starmer let him? A couple of days ago, I thought Keir Starmer wasn't going to let him. He would tell all his mates on the NEC to stop it. But I'm not sure if politically that's possible now.
I think it's quite difficult, and I also think there's a bit of sort of psychological warfare. I mean, the Traitors is finished, so, you know, welcome to the Labour version. So I think the sort of psychological, the psych ops are saying, oh, Andy, it's up to you. We saw the Daily Mail on Friday with will he bottle it? I wonder if, you know, if there's certain people in Number 10 were encouraging thoughts like that, because now the pressure is all on Andy. If you make out, we're more chilled, it's entirely up to Andy. Will he or won't he go for it? I mean, one local member, not in the next-door constituency, posted on Facebook this morning, "Dear Andy Burnham, a.k.a. Labour's very own Saturday dad, please don't do this. Thank you for sorting Manchester's buses, but that's not the same as running the country or facing off with Trump and Putin. And we don't want Reform to become in the cat." So there's mixed feelings amongst the membership, because there is this kind of feeling that you might leave a chink in the armour for Reform to get the Manchester mayor. Actually, I don't think they will, because Labour's changed the electoral system for future mayoral elections back to how it was, which is preferential voting, which means that even if, you know, Labour's chair was disappointed, people from the Greens would be likely to transfer to them.
Sure.
However, I can't remember if that applies to a by-election for a mayor, because I don't think we've had one yet.
No.
So it'd be a first.
I mean...
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living, and maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is TallyMoney?
Well, Bev, with TallyMoney, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade. And in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at TallyMoney. Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind. The more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver, and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
It is a big move in that sense, isn't it, Chloe? That he's letting down the mandate of the people who elected him to represent them in Manchester as well. So there are a lot of risks for him as well, aren't they, for Andy Burnham, if he does choose to do this? Yeah,
and people won't like to see... If it looks as though he's putting himself and his own ambitions before those of the party and Manchester, that's not necessarily going to be a good look for him. A lot of the times when he's tried to make moves, he's often ended up then backing out. I mean, he tried to go to Labour Party conference and make moves there. He ended up leaving the event early, sort of with his tail between his legs and not having got where he wanted to. So, it's going to be very interesting to see. A by-election in a mayoralty would be something very interesting to see. We're going to see at 5 o'clock what happens because he's got that deadline. There's a really tight schedule from the NEC for this by-election. This time next week, they will already have picked a candidate, so we'll see what happens.
Where does this leave Wes Streeting, Matthew? That's what I'm so interested in, because he's been sort of tiptoeing around Keir Starmer for quite a while now. We've seen a few little argy-bargies in the press. If Andy Burnham does go through with this, does stand for the seat, will we start hearing Wes Streeting breaking ranks with Keir Starmer publicly? Are we going to see a Wes Streeting leadership challenge? I
think the answer to that is no. There's been some speculation that Wes would move quickly, so that he went before Andy became the leader. Before Andy got back into Westminster and was therefore potentially able to stand. Absolutely. No indication of my preferences by that Freudian slip. But I think that's unrealistic. I mean, there was, I think the thinking is that leadership challenge, if it came, would come after the local elections in May. I think one of the problems that Andy Burnham's got is if you're a Labour councillor up and down the country, or if you're a Labour candidate in Scotland or Wales, and you have the Andy Burnham psychodrama going on while you're trying to fight an election over the next 10 weeks, I think that will we think will do your chances harm, and therefore will do Andy Burnham's chances of becoming leader harm. So actually, I personally think there's a very strong possibility that it won't be Andy Burnham who'll be the candidate in the Gorton and Denton by-election. I think he might not quite do it, because he could end up with nothing. He could end up not even in Parliament, or he could end up in Parliament, Billy no mates, having caused a lot of trouble, and just as a humble backbencher. I'm not quite sure that King North wants to be a humble backbencher.
And you could see both the mayoralty and potentially Gorton and Denton both going
with his reputation. You could. It's a huge gamble. You've ended up delivering the mayoralty to somebody else, and you haven't made it to Parliament, and you are literally Andy No Job.
But Chloe, at this point, the amount of infighting in Labour at the moment, the number of people vying for position, almost anticipating that there could be a leadership replacement. It feels like every weekend we spend more time on this channel just talking about the people trying to openly briefing about making moves, or even being briefed against by Number 10, instead of actually talking about what they're planning to do. This is just adding to that problem for the government, isn't it?
Yes, they're starting to look quite like the Tories in that sense. And I think one of the reasons why the Tories failed to achieve the things that they set out to achieve in government is because they were constantly running around like headless chickens, trying to stab each other in the back, going around with spreadsheets, trying to topple whoever the current leader was. And that massively distracts them from actually just cracking on with what they need to do to go about their manifesto pledges. And I think that is what is happening with the Labour Party. And sure, they haven't been in government for anywhere near as long as the Tories were in government, but it does feel a year and a half after having Labour in power that they haven't really got anything to show for it.
Very, very quickly, Matthew. Obviously, the big question here is Andy Burnham actually the answer to Labour's problems? He is popular in Manchester. Would he do a good job of running the country as a Labour man?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I think Andy's a talented guy, but I think as that member posted on Facebook, it's a bit different to nationalising the buses or municipalising the buses than it is to facing off Vladimir Putin or Donald Trump. When we saw at a conference, when he put forward, he just sort of said, I think the bond markets don't matter. Well, they kind of do. So he'd have to have a much more coherent and thought-through programme.
Right, Matthew and Chloe, thank you very much. We'll see you in the next hour. And Olivia, to that point, I mean, how important is the change in leader for Labour? We've had Carl getting in touch on your set, saying it doesn't matter who replaces Keir Starmer. People just want Labour out. And I think, obviously there's lots of support for Labour Party still, but a lot of people also look at the party and don't really see it as a leadership issue. It's a party-wide crisis.
Absolutely. It does sometimes feel a bit shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic, doesn't it? Getting rid of Starmer, getting Andy Burnham in. Will it make that much of a difference?
Right.